Howdy, folks, and welcome back to another edition of the Far Out Football Podcast, brought to you by PTE Creative. As always, I'm your host, Evan Davies, fresh off of my seat in Section 116 of Lambeau Field. But we've got plenty of news and notes to go all the way around the NFL here today, and we're going to go give our reactions and some notes every single game in the National Football League this week, because I've been doing a lot of research before and after that game to make sure this works. We're going to go to our first game of the week, and we're not going to start with my hometown team. We're going to start with one of the bigger surprises of the week. We're going down to Dallas for New Orleans. Dallas. Quite a bit of a shocker here. My headline, if you will, as I'm giving kind of a story to every game is, no Parsons? No Parsons? No Parsons? No chance. The New Orleans-Dallas game, the score gives away that Dallas got their asses kicked. Is that true? That is very true. Is it as bad as it looks, though? Maybe? Maybe not. I'm not trying to be a Dallas apologist here, and I'm also not trying to be bullish about a take that is aging very poorly. I'm not going to be a podcaster that's going to tell you, oh, no. That's all a fluke, or this is that, and I'm always right. No one's 100% right. If they're ever telling you they're 100% right, stop listening to them immediately. Okay? Because it's not the case and it's not true. No one is 100% accurate. It's the most obvious thing in the world to hear. My take on New Orleans being dead may very well be incredibly wrong. Their offense is incredibly high-powered right now, and the biggest thing that's proving me and a lot of pundits wrong is the fact that their offensive line is holding up really well. Now, granted, Carolina, not a lot of pass rush, so that's why week 1 you're like, well, it's Carolina. Maybe you just overestimated Carolina. Week 2, you're playing a functional Dallas defense, but the reason I went with, no Parsons, no chance, is when Micah Parsons is not a very effective pass rusher for you, Dallas has nothing on the defensive side of the ball to really make you scared. Like, DeMarcus Lawrence looks like a good player when Micah Parsons is eating up so much of the field. When you have a plan to neutralize that, like a lot of counters and shifts and backside throws that New Orleans had, there's no chance that Dallas is going to hold up well. Plus, I don't think Dak Prescott had the worst game of his career, but it certainly was not good, especially the fumble towards the red zone. That really kind of just put the game away from them in some way, shape, or form. Bad pick that was similar to the pick in the playoff game against Green Bay. Dallas did not do well. Derek Carr is showing out, and he's not afraid to throw the bomb right now, which is really great. He's looking downfield. He's not being checked down Charlie. You got to give a lot of credit to that in New Orleans. I wouldn't say I'm happy to be wrong in this one, because there's still that little bit of me that's like, maybe. But the Saints have started off really hot. Their offense is really going right now. Their offensive line is holding up. That's the biggest thing that we can see. And their defense is holding up really well. Paulson Adebo had a great game. Let's see, Cam Jordan was still being effective on the outsides. Even when Dak was scrambling, you could see Jordan was still getting inside of those plays. Very good defensive performance. And Honey Badger coming through. Honey Badger had a few hits, few plays there as well. New Orleans is looking like they're New Orleans is looking like they're holding up pretty well. So credit to them, but no Parsons, no chance here for that one. Now, before we go to our next game and our new segment, I'm going to send you to these messages. I hear you guys are really liking PT Creative's content. And you know what? You should, because it's pretty rad. You may even want to support the channel even more. Well, there's a way you can do it and reward yourself. And that's by going to our Etsy shop. Head on over to PTE Creative's Etsy shop, and you can find all kinds of cool merch like you see on screen. You may be watching some of our Pokemon-themed content and going, I'd love some merch there. You can do that. You can even get our custom Fakemon stickers right there, or stickers of existing Pokemon, t-shirts, or mystery packs. But you may be saying, I don't know if Pokemon's maybe my vibe. You know what? That's fine, because we got all kinds of fun, snarky millennial content and sports-related things over at the Etsy shop as well. You maybe got some big bench warmer energy that you just got to spread with the world. Or maybe you just need to tell people that you hope both teams are having fun as they're playing, because it's just all about vibes to you, and you hate to see it. You'd hate to see it if you didn't get your merch. You can go get that merch right here, right now. Head on over to Etsy. Go to etsy.com/shop/PTE Creative and go get yourself some awesome merch and go support a local content creator in this community we call the internet. Hope y'all see some great merch coming soon from Etsy. Go to PT Creative on Etsy and get yourself some great merch. No! Love for you guys to check out the Etsy shop. Thank you for listening to that one. But we have a new segment for you. It's called Cleats in the Seats, as your boy was at Lambeau Field. And as the podcast continues to grow, my God, continues to grow, there's only going to be more and more chances for me to go and get some actual game knowledge in the seats. So we're going Cleats in the Seats on this one, as Indianapolis went up to Lambeau Field and the Packers gritted one out here in an impressive fashion, especially from the first half. Here's the hot take that I do not mean to sound too homerish. First half specifically, because Indianapolis did a much better job in the second half shutting this down. First half specifically, that was a Super Bowl caliber rushing offense from Green Bay. They were gashing Indianapolis. Indianapolis is not a bad defensive line, mind you, especially with DeForest Buckner on the inside. That is a good defensive line. Green Bay had at least 3 or 4 big runs called back on penalty, and they would just do it right again. And they just kept going. What amazed me is this is the game plan that everyone should have thought Green Bay would have to try to win this game. And Indianapolis almost seemed as if they were unprepared to stop the run. It was a very odd decision on their part to not just jam-pack the box from the get-go. They started jam-packing the box within the second quarter, and that's where you could see Malik Willis get to throw a little bit here or there. But it was abundantly clear that Matt LaFleur's entire game plan was, we're going to hand the ball to Josh Jacobs and Marshawn Lloyd and Emmanuel Wilson, and our offensive line is just going to pound them into the dirt. Few chances left by Green Bay that weren't great. However, defensively, they held up really well, and that was tremendous to see. The Lambeau faithful was having a great time when Green Bay was on defense. That was very fun to be a part of. Funny part here for me is this, and just a fun note to show you the Lambeau experience a little bit, is I actually am having some hearing issues from time to time. I went into the game and one ear's kind of not functioning very well. The ear popped and I got my hearing back temporarily, and it popped right in the middle of a defensive series, and I just went, whoa, holy shit, like that's fucking loud. Like, I had to stop and do a triple take as I'm talking to my family. I'm talking to my best friend on one side. I'm like, what the hell's happening right now? And it was a lot of fun to just get that enormous boom stadium sound there. And the Green Bay faithful were coming out in the not-so-fucking-frozen tundra of 85 degrees in direct sunlight. That was Green Bay, Wisconsin yesterday, but as of recording. So it was very fun to be a part of that one. Colts, on the other hand, Anthony Richardson struggled very, very mightily. Accuracy was off, not throwing the ball well, not adjusting to pressure well at all, which was very interesting because he's so big-bodied, so confident, and he has so much elusiveness that you think he'd be able to adjust a little better. He did not adjust well. And then when he did make positive plays and would adjust a little bit, they were dropping balls left and right, and things were just not working out their way. It was not the Colts' day. That's abundantly clear. But Green Bay, their defense held up really, really well, and their offensive game plan shockingly worked really well, even though everyone should have been able to predict that. They had over 200 yards rushing in this game. They did a tremendous job on the running game. That is Super Bowl caliber rushing offense. We'll see if the passing attack can continue to develop once Jordan Love is back into this game plan. Injury. He was listed as he technically could have played in this game, and they took him out last minute. That was the right decision. Clearly, it worked. They got the win. That's all that matters. Malik Willis. I do want to give Malik Willis a lot of credit here. Patient as a passer, didn't make any real mistakes. A few balls that you're like, Whew, that was a little close. But 12 of 14, 145 yards passing, unselfish play, made a lot of smart decisions. If something wasn't there, didn't try to force the issue like he may have done early in his Tennessee career. A lot of smart development here. I give Willis a lot of credit for that game. I was never happier to be wrong in a game pick segment in my life than this game, and it was a very fun game, especially when I had new family members to introduce to Lambeau and the experience of it. So, fun game up in Green Bay, and that is our Cleats in the Seats segment for this week. We'll see how many more we can get to. We should have at least 3 more segments like that in the following podcasts, but it's going to be a whole heck of a lot of fun going from there. And we're going to get back to our traditional podcast format after these messages. Hey, you. Yeah, you. I'm talking to you. You trying to get your platform to grow? So am I. And I want to help you out. Let's help each other out. I'm trying a new thing on my podcast and all of my weekly content. I have content Monday through Saturday on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Spotify, all kinds of different platforms, and I want to help you grow as well. So now, if you like, comment, subscribe on this video, or follow wherever you may be, you may get a shout out in one of my next projects. That's what I'm going to try to do for you because you're small-time creators just like me, and I want us both to grow. So like, comment, subscribe for more, follow wherever you can. Tell me a little bit about yourself, and I'll try to help you out as well by giving you a shout out. Let's go do this together. Peace. Alrighty, we're back, folks, and remember, take care of those shout outs and get yourself a little pub. That's all we can do for you. Not all we can do for you, but that's what we want to do for you, help you out. But we're going to move on to our surprise block. A lot of surprises in this week. First game and second game I covered, I would also put in the surprise block here. We're going to start the surprise block. 49ers getting taken out by the Vikings up in Minnesota. Interesting one here, 23-17. I'm calling this one management and seize the opportunity. Minnesota managed this game so well. And they showed a lot of guts in situational football with Sam Darnold, specifically at their own 3-yard line, having to drive 97. And they just said, I think we can max protect here and give Justin Jefferson a chance. And they trusted Sam Darnold to throw that, and it worked out well with that 97-yard touchdown pass. The thing about it is, when people believe that certain teams don't make mistakes, that is never the case. Even the do your job, the finest tuning Patriot teams of Bill Belichick's era still occasionally made mistakes. When a team that is good makes mistakes, your chance to beat them is seizing the opportunity on the mistakes. Minnesota did that really well. Brock Purdy in no way, shape, or form was bad in this game. His passing was very good. I give Purdy a lot of credit because by the loss without CMC, you think, oh, well, Purdy just couldn't pass him to victory. Over 300-plus yards, he did a really good job passing the ball. Minnesota taking advantage of fumbles, interceptions, things of that nature, just bad turnabout play. They took advantage of their opportunities and they seized them. And they managed the rest of the game well, running the ball efficiently, big chunk plays, taking advantage of what Sam Darnold does well. Sam Darnold's playing with a lot of confidence right now. Let's see if that continues because he did something similar to this 2 years ago in Carolina where they started 3-0. He was playing pretty decent, and then he fell off a cliff. Let's see how that's going to work in Minnesota with a better team than Carolina had, but nonetheless, let's see where that goes. But Sam Darnold played particularly pretty well, except that one bad pick by Fred Warner. Kind of just looked it up. Fred Warner made a good play on the ball. But you have to take advantage of the opportunities given to you. You have to be able to capitalize on the mistakes of another team. We're going to see that theme throughout this week. Minnesota did that in spades, especially with a couple goal line stops. Tremendous job in Minnesota's part. They get the win. It's going to be really interesting next week. 2 harsh games coming out of this one. San Francisco has to play the Rams. I'm assuming we're getting bounce back San Francisco there, especially with the Rams team that got their asses kicked this week. Minnesota, on the other hand, they host Houston, who's rolling right now, but shows signs that they can be stopped a hair. Let's see what that's going to be like next week. It's going to be a fun one. And from management and seize opportunity, we go to one of my favorite headlines of all time. Faith rewarded and a good old-fashioned ass whooping. That's what happened in the desert of Arizona as the Rams went down to face the Cardinals. Holy shit, my boy Kyler Murray came on through. That was a textbook perfection Kyler game in which Kyler could do no wrong. The escapability was everywhere. And the fact is, faith rewarded in the Marvin Harrison Jr. era. Harrison Jr. dominated this game early, making every right decision. You could see that when people were concerned about the speed, I believe he was like the second slowest receiver of like the last couple like 5 years or something, like of 1,700 eligible receivers, he was 1,699 based on his play last week. That was not the problem this week. He made every good adjustment. You're not seeing game-breaking speed, but what you're seeing is the finesse of a route runner with incredible instincts here, and a catch radius that's ridiculous. Marvin Harrison Jr. dominated this game with Kyler Murray making play after play after play. And when they started to zero in Harrison Jr., it allowed Murray to really bounce out and do a lot of good with Trey McBride and a couple of other receivers. Plus, I want to give credit to a guy that I don't ever really give a lot of credit to because he kind of just disappeared for the last couple of years. James Conner is doing a really great job with the backfield of Arizona. He was doing that last year, but this year specifically, there's just something about his running style. It's working tremendously well with the complement of a little bit more of the lightning flash style of Kyler Murray. That was just a good old-fashioned ass whooping. I didn't see a single positive for LA except maybe a couple catches on Tutu Atwell's part. That was a good old-fashioned ass whooping. That's what that was, and that was fun to watch. And from the surprise block, we continue to probably the biggest upset of the week. The Raiders went to Baltimore, and they finished, and the headline here is collapse with a 26-23 victory. That last 4 minutes to 7 minutes of Baltimore play was designed to lose. Lamar Jackson did not look good the last two possessions he had the ball. Gardner Minshew played extremely well in just managing the offense and doing what they're supposed to do. Devontae Adams getting that pass interference penalty was also great. That helped them obviously quite a bit. However, Baltimore, when they had to punt, when it's tie game at 23, and their kicker just straight up shanks it and gives it to him at the 50, and then you have a punt gunner fuck up and give him an extra 5, you are begging to lose. And you gave them all the momentum on their side, and they just ground you as Zamir White, and their rushing attack is not good in Las Vegas. Get out of the way. Max Crosby set up the whole collapse a lot after they tied at 23, just taking Lamar Jackson out on that first down sack. Tremendous job on that part. The collapse here was absurd, and to see Baltimore 0-2, you have to start concerns about where they're going because they have Dallas next week. They play in Dallas. And Dallas, typically their pattern under Mike McCarthy is this. Start big, hiccup early. This week would be the hiccup. Recover well, collapse at the end of the season. Home game next week against the Baltimore Ravens team that's just not in sync right now. It's danger time. Vegas, on the other hand, they play Carolina. Confidence builder. You just went out and beat the last year's MVP and a tough team in Baltimore. You did it with defense and grit. You did it by going out and managing the game well with your passing attack, using your options, and playing smart, sound football. And then you have to play a Carolina team that is trying to die. That bodes really well for Vegas here. Tremendous job on their part. We'll see how that one goes next week. And from the surprise block, we go to the as expected block. This is a tale of two things. We're going to go down to Miami from Thursday Night Football with Buffalo and Miami. I'm going to cover the game in two facets. Pre-Tua injury, post-Tua injury. This is pre-Tua injury, and it's not to add insult to said injury, okay? Tua Tagovailoa did not play well in this game. Straight up. Accuracy was completely off. Timing was completely thrown off. And he showed once again he cannot play big-time football against big-time opponents. He feasts on the weak. He feasts on the minnows. He reminds me of like a bigger lake fish that can feast on the smaller stuff, but when the real apex predators come to play, they're not there. Tua Tagovailoa did not play well at all. Still got that spurt play by Tyreek Hill. It seems to happen in all these big games where people who want to be Tua defenders and want to be Miami believers, they always go, well, look, they still spot there. Spots don't fucking matter. They matter when you're trying to find hope. They don't matter in consistent play when you're trying to go from we're good to we're trying to be great. Miami is now fluctuating is can they even be good right now? The injury aside, pre-injury, Tua Tagovailoa played like trash. Just the straight truth. And when he started to get a little bit better, then we move into the injury. Post-injury, Miami looked obviously shell-shocked as they should have. Tua going down the way he did is absolutely sad. Regardless of whether I think he's a great football player and a great quarterback at this point in his career, he seems like a very decent human being, and that's certainly not the way you want someone to go out of the game. And it's incredibly sad to see. I'm already seeing the reports that I understand last week, it's Thursday Night Football. The only thing to talk about is Thursday Night Football on Friday. You're still focused on Thursday nights. Tua's already come out and said, hey, I'm not going to retire, which I understand. It's the first concussion you've had in a removed amount of time. You think you can do that. I'm not here to tell people whether they're going to retire or not. I would be concerned with the concussion history, but I'm not here to be the one to say, like, you need to retire. It's not my job. And I understand people want to be competitors. Tua still needs to augment his game to be able to do that. The way even he approached that hit was stupid. Ducked under, put his head into the guy. That was just straight dumb. And then naturally the internet irony of course Damar Hamlin was the one to deliver the hit, which just brings up more stuff from Damar Hamlin's past and, the near tragedy we had with Damar Hamlin 2 years ago. But I'd be flabbergasted if Tua plays this week. Miami goes to Seattle. I'm assuming Seattle's going to pick up a win against Skylar Thompson. And then you have a Miami team that's 1-2. And then you have to decide the health of your quarterback and whether it's worthwhile to pursue it. And it's a very difficult decision. All the hopes in the world that hopefully Tua can recover pretty well and he's going to be okay. I understand they're on a long break, so they're going to probably be tempted to play Tua this week. Not only is every concussion not great, there's those scary concussions, and Tua had another scary one where he had the limp hands and he's just like his fingers aren't working well, and it's a scary process to look at. I hope he heals well, and I hope he's going to be safe for Miami's sake, but more importantly for him as a human being. I hope he's okay. But it's a super concern to look at, and that's the only way to do it. Meanwhile, on the Buffalo side, I know I didn't cover Buffalo much. They just straight up kicked Miami's ass. Josh Allen was Superman again, passing all over the place. They were doing so well attacking that team. Miami had no answers. That's the easiest way to say it. And as we continue, as expected, let's just go to the team that's trying to die. We're gonna go Los Angeles Chargers for the Panthers home opener. 26-3. Let's stay positive for right now. Chargers. J.K. Dobbins should get almost every carry you have. Almost every time you put Gus Edwards in the game, you get stuffed. J.K. Dobbins, on the other hand, is electric right now. Props to him for saving his career right now. He looks so healthy. He looks so quick and fast. He's playing incredibly well for Los Angeles. Great to get that change of scenery and get that heartbeat back into his career. That's tremendous. Secondly, Quentin Johnson not only scored 1, but 2 goddamn touchdowns in this game. That is an apparition. That's like Doctor Strange in Infinity War saying 14,105 options. Like of the amount of times they could be successful. That is the career trajectory that we were having with Quentin Johnston, and for him to be an effective player throughout this game, really good signs for Los Angeles. They're playing good ball control. It's great. Now to Carolina. It pains me to say it. I am considering turning in my hope for Bryce Young card. I'm certainly considering that at this option, or at this time. Bryce Young just looks so ineffective in this offense. I don't think if I'm trying to play at least fairness here, I don't think that offense is designed well for Bryce. but I can't tell either because I don't know if they're giving enough successful plays for Bryce to try to get in and out and Bryce is screwing it up, or if this is just an offense that is not designed for the pieces that they have. Okay? You have a team, Carolina, that is just wanting to die. If you look at the second quarter pick, Bryce Young looks like he's almost in tears with pure frustration on his face, like there's nothing I can do right. When he's completing a pass, it's always short of the sticks, and they didn't get a first down until the second quarter. It's just brutal, man. Just totally brutal. Carolina's got to figure out their offense. They need far more of a rushing attack. Their offensive line needs to get sewn up so much better if you want to really give Bryce Young a chance to be anything decent. And I think you need to go to a lot more quick passing games because I'm seeing all these development plays where we're trying to go attack 12 yards downfield and 15 downfield. And you're seeing Bryce Young is not getting the time to really go for that, but at the same time, he's not doing protection and blitz pickup very well. It's just all around bad. It might even have to be after this year change of scenery time if this continues at this pace. It's really sad. The only positive I can say for Carolina, J.C. Horn looked really good on defense this week. Good to him. But that is part of our as expected block, and we'll finish as expected right now here when Chicago goes down to Houston, and the headline here is freshman frustration, sophomore stardom. Houston took care of business. There were times that Houston looked like a juggernaut. The passes that C.J. Stroud was throwing to Nico Collins and some of the Stephon Diggs, but specifically Nico Collins. Nico Collins looked unstoppable in this game. Didn't matter what he did, he was getting those crossing routes, and he was gashing for 15, 20, and 20-plus yards. C.J. Stroud looked phenomenal, and he was creating a lot more with his legs, getting outside of the pocket, and making do with a lot of things, which is something that we didn't see a lot from C.J. Stroud. Ironically, he has the physical gifts to be more of a runner and be more of a scrambler, and yet he's so much more comfortable as a pocket passer. And we saw last night, the Bears defense actually played pretty decently. And they were putting pressure on Stroud and got him outside, and that's where you could see Stroud's development, which he's being able to do more than asked. He's being able to go, okay, this didn't work. I'm going to adjust on the fly and make the best of the situation. C.J. Stroud did a really good job with that. That's the sophomore stardom. Freshman's frustration. Caleb Williams has not dealt with pressure well at all. And it's starting to be slightly concerning. It's week 2. I'm not the one who's going to be like, oh, panic. I'm still a big believer in what Caleb can do because I still saw signs of development where the throws that he wasn't making last week, he settled down. He was making those bigger throws to the outside. He was making some of those shots. But when he gets into this scramble mode and he doesn't trust his offensive line because he's not adjusting to pressure well, his first thing is to spin and try to create and go downfield with a passing attack where it's almost, I wish he had a little bit more of that rookie runner where he just went, pressure, gone. Because he has the athleticism to at least make it work. Keep your eyes downfield if you see something, but pressure, I'm gone. I almost wish because it'd be more successful for Chicago right now. And you could see a little bit more of that creativity and see if that's really going to function on the NFL level for Caleb. Right now, that's not the case. He cannot. He's struggling with blitz pickup. Houston blitzed more in their time with D'Amico Ryans than they ever did in this last game. They were blitzing him like crazy. He could not handle blitz protection, blitz pickup whatsoever. And anytime they got pressure on him, it was done. You saw when it was early in the game and it wasn't as much of that and they were still kind of figuring each other out, you were seeing downfield passes to the outside that I really liked, especially some of those out routes that were great. But Caleb's struggling mightily in a way that I don't think anyone predicted, and it's slightly concerning to see where they're going to go from here is going to be quite interesting, to say the least. That is our as expected block. Now, before we continue with the rest of the week's game, I'm going to send you this message here, and I'll see you on the other side. Hey friends, I know you're enjoying this show, but we want to prime you for a new show. Go check out the weekly schedule over at PT Creative and find your new favorite podcast or show to watch. Monday and Thursday, you get the Far Out Football podcast with news, analysis, and notes of the NFL season, plus great projects during the off-season like draft analysis and what-if questions like what if the NFL expanded. Tuesday, go to the ONETA Show for absurd takes and fun all around. The topics in entertainment, gaming, movies, television, you name it, ONETA Show is going to talk about it. Wednesday, you can go check out the Pokemon Bliss Oblivion Project, in which new Pokemon are being designed every single week as we create the Halzari Fakemon region. Friday, it's kind of a fun, laid-back day over at PT Creative. You can go open some brand new Pokemon card packs, or get some new specials and seasonal content coming your way on a Friday. And finish your week out with the Wisco Movie Watchers podcast on Saturdays. Get great movie recommendations, learn some movie history, and just have a grand old time listening to some dialogue. It's going to be a whole heck of a lot of fun over on Saturdays, just like it is every single day over at PTE Creative. Go check out new podcasts, new content, new shows every single Monday through Saturday over at PTE Creative. Now enjoy the rest of your show. And we're back, folks. Be sure to check out that content, but we have content right here for you. We're going to go to Detroit, where Tampa Bay, I picked correctly the upset. There was a lot of games that I thought were in the bag that I got wrong this week, but then a lot of the ones that I was like, I'll pick it. Those were the ones that worked out for me, and this was a good upset pick for me. Storyline here is opportunist on both sides of the ball. Turnover battle was a big one here. I loved Baker Mayfield's performance because he showed a lot of poise. Because in a game where Aiden Hutchinson, ultimate opportunist with 5 sacks, one of which was a strip sack. Tremendous on his part. Mayfield still showed a lot of poise and a lot of courage to go downfield and do that. Didn't throw everything perfect, but still did a pretty decent job. But here's the thing. Outside of one turnover, Baker Mayfield played pretty well and consistently downfield attacking without putting the ball in harm's way. Jared Goff, on the other hand, could not handle the pressure that Mayfield got, plus turn the ball over downfield. And just could not turn their opportunities into big, successful pieces, where Tampa did. If they saw it, they took it, they made it work. And even if they got stopped, they'd walk away with 3, where some of the times Detroit had opportunities and they walked away with nothing. That was the whole option of the game. Positively for Detroit, Hutchinson, again, 5 sacks, he's looking like the player that you thought he could be. Jameson Williams is now becoming the big chunk play guy that we've been hoping for in Detroit for 2 weeks, or for 2 years now that he's healthy, no gambling concerns or anything like that, and he's a fully functioning member of this offense. Big chunk plays are happening every time Jameson Williams touches the ball, and it's really fun and impressive to watch as a football fan. Those are huge positives that Detroit can take. They have to sew up that interior pressure, otherwise Jared Goff's going to keep suffering. Meanwhile, Tampa, they have every right to believe that they can go win their division and they can be a force in the NFC. I don't think they're the class of the NFC, but they're playing really well to justify being dangerous to those big powers, especially after a lot of those theoretical big powers are in peril. Green Bay's without their quarterback right now. San Francisco just went down to Minnesota, and Dallas just went down to New Orleans. Those are 3 of the 4. Philly's the one that you're like, okay, maybe Philly. But Tampa also just beat the Philly team that we've seen on the field last year. So it's kind of they should have the confidence that we could do it again. So they have reason to be confident. It wasn't perfect, but they were opportunists. They did really well. Good on Tampa to do that. The thing about Tampa is next week they get Denver. I'm seeing a roll into the 3, which is going to be great. Detroit, they go down to the desert in Arizona, and Arizona's playing well. So it's going to be a fun way to see, does Detroit go to 1-2, or do they grit up and go to 2-1? It's going to be a fun one, and we'll talk about that more on the pre-show on Thursday. Now we continue good football. Jets at Tennessee. Here's why it's called good football. We saw smart play from one team, and we saw absurd play from another team. Defensively, Tennessee was doing fine. They did a pretty decent job against Aaron Rodgers. Aaron is clearly not MVP Aaron, at least at this moment. Who knows if he can get that back. He's not sensing pressure the same way he used to. He's not into that milieu right now. He's not in that place. But he's still taking advantage of good opportunities, and he still has that classic older quarterback wit about him where he sees an opportunity, he takes the opportunity immediately. I think of one, hurry up offense, quick snap, bam, 12 yards down Lazard for first down. That was a really nice play there. Taking advantage of those opportunities, taking the checkdowns when they're there, and not making mistakes. That was the best part about Aaron Rodgers' game here. Tennessee, this comes down to Will Levis doesn't play well. He shows flashes from time to time where you go, oh, okay, maybe. And then he does dumb plays where now ESPN has thumbnails in which Rex Ryan is just screaming, "You're not Brett Favre!" That shovel pass attempt was so dumb. Just eat the hit and take the 3-point attempt. Don't try to be the hero when you're not the hero. No. You know who accomplishes that? The all-time greats. Will Levis ain't an all-time great. And I get it. Everyone wants to be a competitor and be that guy. Will Levis isn't that guy. He certainly hasn't shown that up to this point. Will Levis has cost them 2 games. Truly, he has. Because of mistakes that he's made. There may need to be some true concerns for Tennessee if this behavior continues, in which his play is, oh, I show you flashes, but I also make this giant fuck up. Tennessee has to be concerned about that, and I would be as well. Especially next week, they host Green Bay, who may have their quarterback back. That's going to be a tough test for them. It's not like they're going to be able to just roll up. Frankly, especially when healthy, Green Bay's playing better football than the Jets are right now. So that's going to be a tough one. Meanwhile, Jets, they get a good defensive opponent. However, they can feast possibly on the offense there because New England comes to them. So that's a good confidence builder game. They can capture some momentum. Jets believers can understand that. And I understand why they may believe that will work out for them. So interesting there. And then we have a big segment of this show that I didn't know what else to call it besides closer than expected. Odd game in New England with Seattle going to New England. 23-20 win for Seattle. Their defense has gotten up in New England. Their offense is at least road grading and doing decently well. Matriculating the ball down the field, boys. To quote Greg Stram. It's just a weird game to me in which I'm a little concerned with Seattle not being able to just pull the trigger sometimes. But then I see plays where Geno's, he sees DK Metcalf and he's like, oh, done. Here's 7 points because here's the big, tall, fast guy, and he's open. I'm taking it. So New England should still be bolstered here with a lot of confidence that they played a good team really well and kept them within 3 points. And it looks like more miscues happened to cost them the game, which can be fixed. So good on them for that. Seattle, you got to take the next step. If Seattle wants to go from good, we're always competing for playoffs, to we are going to really compete to go to NFC Championship games and Super Bowls, they have to sew up their issues. It's week 2, so it's still going to happen, but nonetheless, take the next step. That's what you have to do. From there, we go to another weird embarrassment game. 21-18, Washington hosting the Giants get the win in a game in which they kicked 7 field goals. 7 field goals. What are we doing? And this will tell you the whole story of the game here. The New York Giants, in their 100th season as a team, are the first team to score 3 touchdowns in a game, allow 0 touchdowns on the other team, and lose in regulation. That has been done one other time in NFL history, but it was in overtime that team lost. This is the first time it's happened in straight regulation. And still, that's a bad history of 2 teams, and you're one of them. That's problematic. Jaden Daniels was fine, and Daniel Jones wasn't making the big mistakes here, but the conversion rates were screwing them up. Look, 2-point conversions and weird things. Just kick a goddamn extra point, and it could work. It's just problematic, to say the least. There are pieces to be happy about. On the Washington side, Brian Robinson Jr. rushed for over 100 yards and looked pretty decent. On the Giants side, Malik Neighbors over 100 yards receiving, first touchdown catch. Looks like he can be a real player. Let's see how that's going to perform. But next week, both have a game in which they could easily be crushed. The Giants, biggest problem is offense. They're now having to go to Cleveland to play the Cleveland Browns. Problematic. Not good. Bad at their job. Washington, not sewn up. They have to go to Cincinnati, who as much as one of the clips I came up from last week, I did the Joe Burrow is cooked, or is Joe Burrow cooked question. Cincinnati looked a lot better, and they're going to have T. Higgins back next week. That's a recipe to lose a game. So this was this felt like old bad NFC East football where you just go, fuck this division, man. Fuck this. Bad stuff. Then we go to a game that's possibly even more embarrassing. Pittsburgh at Denver, 13-6. There's really nothing here to talk about. Justin Fields got another win. It was more stereotypical Pittsburgh football, and Denver just did not look ready to perform at a high level. Obviously, their defense did well enough to keep them Pittsburgh to 13 points, but there's nothing special about this game. Pittsburgh goes to play the Chargers. If the defense can hold up, that could at least be close, but I'm still going to pick the Chargers in that one during our preview next to it on Thursday. Denver has to go to Tampa. Yeah. Patrick Surtain can only cover one guy. Have fun trying to cover Chris Godwin or Mike Evans. That's where it's going to be. It's going to be a long season in Denver. It's going to be bad. Another game, really wonky one, really weird. Lost to Sean Watson in this one, but Cleveland pulls it out 18-13. Admittedly, I didn't get to watch a ton of this game, but you have a wounded Cleveland team. It's proven that they can't do well. This is why I always laugh at those fucking marks down in Jacksonville. And why I always bring it up in my comparisons to AEW wrestling that's also terrible. As a wrestling fan, that I want it to be good and it's terrible because it's run by a fucking Mark Tony Khan. It's the same way in Jacksonville. Things that they should be able to do well, they cannot do. It's a team you need to take advantage of on their backup quarterback. Now, granted, there's a very unique backup situation in which the backup is probably better option than the starter. But nonetheless, you need to be able to put up more than 13 points. I understand Cleveland's defense is very good. They're very good. But you need to take advantage of opportunities, and you can't do it. The fucking Marks can't do it, and Jacksonville's going to continue to suck. And next week, they're in Buffalo. And guess what? I'll be picking Buffalo in that game. You'll be shocked. And Cleveland, they get the Giants at home. So they can just recover quick, and they're like, all right, we're 2-1. We'll be fine. So it's going to be an interesting one, to say the least. And the last of the closer than expected games, Cincinnati went to Kansas City. This was a weird game. I titled this one Bad Day at the Office. Patrick Mahomes had a bad Patrick Mahomes game by Patrick Mahomes standards. He's going to get more flack by people who want to hate on him because he got the 2 picks. One was, it was a bad ball. I'm not taking away the throw. It wasn't the most accurate pass I've ever seen in my life. However, Cam Taylor-Britt made one of the best interception catches you'll see. Just one hand falling backwards. That was tremendous on his part. The first pick was far worse on Mahomes' part. Pat had a bad day at the office. Joe Burrow had a bad day at the office. Outside of being able to use his tight ends, his third or fourth receivers are his best options right now because Jamar Chase was utterly ineffective, and Joe Burrow is also showing the mobility issue is still there. He is far more of that pocket passer that needs to have a clean pocket when he has to move, when he has to adjust, or when he has to just take pressure to the face. The stuff that you saw at LSU where you could take pressure and just make it work, that's not there right now. So he played better. I'm not going to sit here and say, that take I had last week of Joe Burrow just being trash right now. I don't think Joe Burrow looked like trash. But I also don't think Joe Burrow looked tremendously well either. I'm calling it a bad day at the office for him too. Especially with that fumble to give away that last touchdown that Kansas City got. Continuing bad at the office, Jamar Chase, non-factor in this game, and then he gets a 15-yard penalty because he decides to scream at a referee too much. And it's not one of those times that a referee gets offended by one word and throws a penalty. Go look at the footage. Jamar Chase screams at him for like 10 seconds. Twice the ref does not care and just says, just go back. It's fine, whatever. And I understand he's frustrated because ball's not coming his way very well. Their team is just not breaking the big ones that they need to, that he's usually providing. But the ref twice lets him go. And then as he's leaving, he decides, nope, I'm going to keep doing it. And then the ref's finally like, I have to do this. Fuck it. 15 for you. And you see Joe Burrow have to like shove him backwards to get him away from a referee, because it's not hyperbole. If you watch the clip, you could see Jamar Chase getting ejected because he's just so frustrated. And then he gets to the sideline. Everyone has to scream at him, and instead of just taking it, he continues to do it. He's a phenomenal receiver. He's clearly in a bad place right now with Cincinnati, and it's a frustrating place when you're losing and you're 0-2. Especially in this one where you feel like you could have won. But fucking boneheaded move. What are you doing? That's just fucking stupid. Especially when your quarterback has to literally shove you away from a referee because you're being that much of a jackass. It's just stupid. Get it together. You're better than that. Another thing, bad day at the office. Isaiah Pacheco goes down for at least 4 to 6 weeks. He's most likely back by week 8 as he's going on IR for a fractured fibula. That is a huge problem for Kansas City. The thing about their running game that's so great is Pacheco's speed. To lose Pacheco, who was a huge contributor in their win today, or yesterday, I should say, in their win yesterday, such a contributor with the speed and the ability to cut through those lanes that were made. He was routinely taking 3-yard plays and making them 6, 7, 10, 12. Out that speed factor that Pacheco brings with some of that toughness and that hard running style, it's going to be very hard for Kansas City. Granted, Kansas City, next week, they go to Atlanta. I don't foresee them needing Pacheco to win the Atlanta game. Cincinnati, on the other hand, they have Washington, get right game. Hopefully they can get Higgins involved off of injury. Hopefully they can get Chase involved instead of stupidity. If Cincinnati loses to Washington next week, put them on panic alert. But this was just a bad day at the office for a lot of people. However, still a lot of fun. Pat did not have as bad as a game as people may say, but still not great. It was fun to see the big man tutty, though, and he still made plenty of throws downfield where you're like, yeah, he's Patrick Mahomes. Shocking. But a fun one nonetheless, because it was a dramatic game with a lot of weird plays in it that were fun to watch. And it was fun. That was a fun game to continue the fun after, Green Bay yesterday. So fun times there. That is all we have in the Closer Than Expected. We're going to give you one quick ad break, and we're going to come back for a little Monday night preview. Stay tuned.
That is a pretty good idea. Never thought about it like that. Interesting. Oh. Hello there. You caught me at time with my headphones on and listening to a podcast. But that means I'm having a great day because I'm listening to a podcast on Spotify. You know what's awesome about Spotify listening to a podcast is, unlike YouTube, where screen goes dark and poof, all your sound is cut off, Spotify, you can take it anywhere. Just let it play and it'll play for you. Just like you can listen to all of these PT creative awesome podcasts on Spotify anytime you like, right on the go. Far Out Football Podcast Monday and Thursday, the ONETA Show every Tuesday, which is tremendous, and you may be listening to right now, maybe not, I'm not sure. Or even the Wisco Movie Watchers Podcast, which is a tremendous movie podcast, and I got so many recommendations from that podcast. God, they are just so smart over there, those boys. And the best part about it, when I'm listening to Spotify podcasts, man, I can just take it anywhere and I don't have to look at my phone. It's so good, it's even Dragon's Order proof. Go check out our podcast, PTE Creative, on Spotify right now. And give us a star rating when you can. Peace!
And we're back! As always, I hope you're enjoying the show. If you want to take it on the go, follow what the ad said. Take it with Spotify. Be a great place to go. Now to Monday Night Football. We have the Atlanta Falcons and Kirk Cousins somehow always having to be the sacrificial lamb on week 2 to the Philadelphia Eagles. I have titled this one Blood in the Water. It hasn't been played yet. I just assume that's what's going to happen. Philly looked like they got a little bit of mojo back against Green Bay last week. Although they were traveling back from Brazil, so who knows how much really extra rest they got. Still, they got 10 days to rest up as opposed to Atlanta's 7. I guess they got an extra day because it's Monday Night Football. I do not see this going well for Atlanta. The way they played last week was so sloppy. and incoherent, and they couldn't just tie things together. That's the kind of thing the Philadelphia Eagles feast upon. I'm looking for that at least 3 to 4 sacks for the Philadelphia side of the ball, at least 1 to 2 picks. It seems to always be the Kirk Cousins week 2 experience against the Eagles, and just a lot of danger talk in Atlanta. And I think if this game goes the way it probably will, you're going to start hearing the calls for Michael Penix Jr. Even though it's still too early to do that, you're going to get the Michael Penix Jr. calls down in Atlanta. And this is exactly the situation that Atlanta brewed for themselves, and that's going to be the issue. That's the Monday Night Football preview because it's that goddamn simple. But I hope you guys enjoyed this show. Thank you so much for watching. We appreciate it, or listening if you're on Spotify. Continue to check us out on our socials and everything else. We'll catch you on the next episode, which is Thursday of the Far Out Football Podcast. We'll catch you down the road. We'll play some fun games on the preview episode. Catch you down the road. Watch some good football. Peace, love, and hugs.